Hello, this is Mary Jo Tinlin from Teaching Your Toddler. Does your child have food allergies? Do you know that there are some allergies that we can grow out of and others that will most likely stay with us for the rest of our lives? Do you also know what the newest allergy to the top 9 is? We'll find out today when you hear from our very special guest, Elizabeth Pecoraro. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist and also the author of a brand new cookbook called the Allergy-Friendly Cookbook. She's a New York based mom, as well as she has her own private practice where she helps adults and children with not just food allergies, but also nutrition in general. She received her bachelor's degree in business from Binghamton University, as well as her master's degree in nutrition and physiology from Columbia University. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's going to be a great show. Can't wait for you to hear from her about her experience as a mom with children with allergies, as well as the things that you can do to help your child if they have allergies or if someone you know has allergies. Hello, this is Mary Jo Tinlin. Welcome to the Teaching Your Toddler show. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Elizabeth Pecoraro. She's a registered dietitian nutritionist, and she's going to talk to us today about her amazing new cookbook that addresses allergies in children and also her experience as a mom. Welcome to the show. Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your experience specifically with allergies with your children.
Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for having me, first off. Yes, as you said, I am a registered dietitian nutritionist and a mom of 2 children with multiple food allergies. So I currently have a private practice. I see patients with and without food allergies. I'm also a professor. I teach nutrition at Pace University. And of course, I just finished the cookbook. So that's kind of what's going on in my life right now.
Excellent. All right. So how old were your children? They were babies when you
They
figured
were
out that
babies.
yeah.
My daughter got diagnosed with her allergies at 1 year old because back then, she's now 11. They told you to wait to introduce the highly allergenic foods. So that we kind of missed the boat. So she was diagnosed at 1. My son was born in 2014, and we learned a lot. That was the time they were learning a lot more about early introduction. So we had a great allergist who suggested we test him at 6 months for some of the top allergens. He tested positive, but his skin test was a certain millimeter. It wasn't too large. So they wanted to give him peanut to see kind of what would happen. So of course I was beside myself, but the allergist said this is the only way that your son may be able to not have a peanut allergy. So we did it. We gave him a peanut protein. You can't give them peanuts because they're too young. And he was not allergic. Even with a positive skin test. So that also tells you a lot about the testing. It is not 100% accurate. So the allergist then told us you have to be giving him a peanut protein 3 times a week until the age of 5. So he does not grow into this allergy because something is happening in his body. He tested, the skin was positive.
Right.
So we did exactly like we were told, very diligent, and he does not have a peanut allergy.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack right there. So first of all, you said with your daughter, you missed the boat. Now, what do you mean by that?
So now the recommendation is to get the allergens into your child in infancy. So when my daughter was a child or born, it was introduce egg at 1 year old and introduce the nuts at 2 years old. That is not the case anymore.
Okay.
At all. You want it, the earlier, the better. If you have allergies in your family, or if the sibling has an allergy, talk to the allergist and see what they recommend. They may want you to come into the office, but you do not want to wait to introduce these highly allergenic foods.
Wow. So, okay. And then with your son, you said you did the test, and then what was the millimeter thing? That's like how allergic the reaction. I've seen a scratch test before with like, and then when you're really allergic, sometimes it like takes over the whole back, right? Like maybe that's what
Yes.
you're not talking about, or I'm not sure.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's a
Okay.
scratch test or a skin test, as they call
Mm-hmm.
it. And they put a little bit of the allergen into on the arm or the back, depending on
Mm-hmm.
how old the child is. And then it gets a wheal, so a circular bump, like a mosquito bite.
Okay.
And then they measure it.
Okay.
So I think it's 3 millimeters, don't quote me, but there's a certain number they're looking for.
Okay.
And if it's under that, then
Mm-hmm.
there's a chance your child may not be allergic. If it's
Hmm.
over that, then they won't even try an oral food challenge, or they may go to the blood test. It's a lot of testing to see
Okay.
if they're willing to challenge.
I had no idea that there was such a range, and I think
Right.
that's what I am like reacting to is that like I thought it's binary, right? Like you either are, or you are not. It's not that sort of range. And so you're saying that with the scratch test or with the skin test, that with peanuts, it looked like he was, but he really wasn't. So were there other things that you decided to test on, or was that peanut one that was sort of inconclusive enough that you decided to do the protein test, the oral test?
Yes. So the allergist did not test him on every allergen that my daughter has. That's
Okay.
another thing that's not recommended
Hmm.
because, as you know, there's false positives.
Okay.
So if you get all these positives, then you're taking out so many foods from a child's diet that may not be necessary. And anxiety starts building up in the parent, and then they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to introduce the foods. So
Yes.
he did test for a couple. Again, it was 8 years ago. It's in my book, the whole journey we
Whole
had.
journey. Okay.
I think that he tested for peanut, egg, and milk.
Hmm.
Those were the three that he tested for.
Okay.
My son did have a dairy allergy in infancy. He outgrew that.
Hmm.
He was never allergic to egg, and he had a positive reaction on the skin test for peanut, but he was challenged and he was not allergic.
Didn't work. Okay. So that's an interesting concept as well. So it sounds like your daughter has a lot more allergies than their son.
Yes.
How do you sort of figure out that he had grown out of that milk allergy? How do you sort of, or do you just like give him a little tiny bit every once in a while just to see what happens? Or like, what do you do?
So, when an infant has a dairy allergy, they usually present with blood in their stool.
Oh, wow.
So, the stool is checked.
Okay.
And then as they grow a little, they do it monthly. Usually when you're older, they check you yearly, but when they're so young, they check them maybe every 4 months just to see if anything changes.
Okay.
Then yes, after checking him again and the numbers going down, they said, okay, we're going to challenge him. And he wasn't allergic. Again, it's a risk, and a lot of parents don't like to challenge, but the only way you will know if your child has a food allergy is if they ingest that food. That is the only way. Of course, my daughter has a huge positive skin test for peanut and off the charts with the blood test. So they would never challenge her.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay. I'm interested in what you said about anxiety because I wondered how much anxiety, especially for parents, anxiety sort of is a factor in all of this situation when you have a child that has allergies.
Yeah, it's a huge factor,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're babies because
Yeah.
they can't communicate with you.
Right.
So definitely when we got the diagnosis, it was fear, it was anxiety, it was denial. I really had no idea what was going on. But you snap out of that pretty quickly because you have to, because you're a
Mm.
parent.
Mm-hmm.
The anxiety is there when she was younger, but I wanted to make sure that I did not give that to her. So she
Yes.
has been fantastic with her allergies. She has challenged a lot. She has passed some challenges and she has not passed some challenges. So she's had reactions
Mm-hmm.
in the hospital when we're challenging.
In a
Now,
controlled situation.
controlled situations.
Yeah.
Now that she is older, I do see a little bit more, not anxiety day to day, but they want to start challenging her again.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not liking that option. But they have a lot of things now called, empowering groups. So they talk about bravery and they talk about logic compared to emotions. So we're probably going to get involved with that because there could be a chance she has outgrown some of her allergies now.
And is that pretty common to have? It sounds like that it is pretty common for kids to grow out of allergies. Is it just because we sort of get, I don't know if it's acclimated or if our bodies just sort of, like, I don't know if, do we learn over time? Our systems kind of get more resilient over time. Is that how you get rid of an allergy?
We don't really know. I don't think there's any concrete answer. We do know that the majority of people do outgrow the egg and dairy allergies, but the peanuts and the seeds seem to stick with us for longer or a lifetime.
Huh. I had no idea. I didn't know that. I've been, I guess, blessed that our children don't have allergies, which is kind of shocking. But I saw that in your statistics, it's about 8% of children who do. It seems like it's higher. I mean, it feels like when you hear about all the kids that have to have like peanut-free tables at school and all the things, like it seems like it's much more than 8.
Yeah, they're saying that if you have a classroom of, say, 30, then probably about 2 to 3 kids. So yeah, that's about 8 to 10%
Yeah.
will have a food allergy.
Okay. All right. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And so I definitely want to talk about your book, but from a mom standpoint, how do you recommend moms who do find out that their child has an allergy, but they're babies, if they're too small and they're headed to daycare or a babysitter or friend to take care of or whomever, how do you sort of properly communicate that if your child is either pre-verbal or nonverbal, not able to speak?
Yeah, so you just have to communicate, obviously, with the caregiver and be
Mm-hmm.
completely clear. You will have an action plan that you will set up with your allergist in
Mm-hmm.
case anything is to happen. And I always recommend prepare the food yourself
Mm.
and send it with the child.
Okay.
If you only have one allergy, if it's a peanut allergy, a lot of these preschools are peanut free or nut free.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that does make it easier.
Yes.
But, always prepare and have your allergy plan with them. They need to know how to administer epinephrine. So you go over
Mm-hmm.
that with them
Mm-hmm.
and it's simple. So, and don't keep it as a secret. Some people don't want to burden other people. That has not, don't think that way. Everybody has something. This is to keep your child safe, and you need to teach your child how to advocate for themselves as they get older.
Yes, absolutely. So speaking of food, you wrote a cookbook. So tell us about that and tell us a little bit about like the evolution of it and then, whatever you want to tell us with the writing process or anything, but also want to hear about like the actual recipes themselves too.
Okay, great. Yes. So, like I said, she was diagnosed at 1. And I think for the first year, it was denial. My mom even said, these are just all going to go away. Because we didn't know anything. She's like, this isn't real. This can't be real. Because she had so many. And she really has more than the average
Mm.
person, child. So obviously, after a year, that did not happen. And I said, all right, it's time. We need to just get into the kitchen and figure this out because everything's going to have to be made from scratch. The allergist was very clear with us. You need to cook. Do not take her out to eat. That was our recommendation at the time.
Mm.
So I had to get into the kitchen. I know I'm a dietitian, but I wasn't a huge cook. So I started experimenting and recipe after recipe after recipe. We were lucky she was a great eater.
Good.
So everything that she's not allergic to, she eats, which
That's
is
good.
amazing. She has
Very
a lot
fortunate.
of allergies. Yeah.
Mm.
But if you focus on what your child can have instead of what they can't have, it
Mm.
changes everything. It's all about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So we started making recipes. I never saved them. I just wasn't thinking. I just did it and then went to the next one. And probably when she was about 7 years old, when we went to the doctor, she passed a baked in egg challenge. And the doctor said, okay, now here are the rules. I'm like, rules? Now can't I just have baked in egg? Like, can't we just go to a nut-free cupcake place? But there were a lot of rules. You have to bake at a certain degree for a certain amount of time, a certain
Wow.
eggs. So I said, okay, now I'm going to be a permanent baker and chef. And at
Mm-hmm.
that time, I said, I better start saving these recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And then probably 6 months later, I thought to myself, I can help other people.
Mm-hmm.
If
Nice.
I had this when she was diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been life-changing.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so now you have it says about 60 recipes in the book, right?
60 recipes, and I wanted to incorporate also healthy recipes. So
Mm.
when she was first diagnosed, I just wanted to get anything that was safe. I was looking for every safe cookie known to man, right? And I, I'm a dietitian. I want my kids to eat healthy, and every mom
Mm-hmm.
wants their children to eat healthy. So I wanted to incorporate healthy, simple,
Mm-hmm.
allergy-friendly recipes that kids will actually eat
Mm-hmm.
and your partner will eat and you will eat. So you're not making multiple dinners and
Right.
meals for everybody in the family. That's,
Mm-hmm.
I work with people who have that problem without allergies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
so that
That is
was what the book
stressful.
was.
Adds stress to the evening that you don't necessarily need when you have to make multiple versions. And
Yes.
so is the book, is it how did you organize the cookbook?
At the beginning is breakfast, then it goes to soups,
Hmm.
and then it goes to mains, sides and sauces, desserts. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
how it goes.
And then do you have like a key in there that says if it's peanut free or egg free or whatever? Is that
Every single recipe is written to be top 9 allergen free.
wow, top
Every
nine
single
allergen
recipe.
free? Oh my
Top
goodness.
9
Okay.
allergen free. So if it says pasta, that, and you have a gluten or wheat allergy,
Mm-hmm.
it has a little asterisk by it. And then in the back of the book, it's going to give you all your options for the gluten-free brands that you can choose from.
Oh wow. Okay. Good. And so I have the 9 allergens here: peanuts, tree nuts, eggs, milk, wheat, soy, fish, shellfish, and sesame.
Yes.
Sesame. That's crazy. I've never heard that one, or I
So
haven't heard it
that's,
very often.
yeah, well, because it just became the top 9th allergen this year.
Huh. Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Interesting. Is it a seed? It's a seed. So it kind of
It's a
goes
seed, a
along with the
sesame
trees
seed.
and, yeah, nuts and seeds allergy, I guess.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have seed allergies.
Hmm.
She happens to have sesame, chia, flax, and mustard seed.
Wow. Okay. Goodness. And do you know anything, or in your research and your travels, have you found out like causes for these allergies? Do we know anything about that?
We're learning so much, and we do know, well, again, nothing's 100%, but they are narrowing it down, and something's happening with the gut microbiome, which
Mm,
everyone has spoken about in a lot of GI issues.
hmm.
So the good bacteria and the bad bacteria not being in balance, our food supply in this world, we used to say in this
Hmm.
country, but in this world is not the best, a lot of processed foods.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's what's happening. There's something going on in our guts.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Um, that's are there any special like cooking methods that you have to worry about? Like, do you have to worry about what kind of oil you're using when you're cooking? I mean, clearly you can't use
That's a great question.
soy-based oil or something like that, right?
So that is a great question, and that is very individualized. So
Mm,
that's such a great question. Okay, so let's break it down. So oil should not have the protein in it.
okay.
So technically, you should be able to have the oil,
Oh.
but if it's not refined, very refined, it may have traces. So that
Okay.
is a personal decision that you work with your allergist on. My daughter can have soybean oil. She
Hmm.
is allergic to soybeans. We do not mess around with peanut oil because how severe her allergy is.
Hmm. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I know my niece actually has a peanut allergy, and she's always avoided restaurants that use peanut oil in their
Yes.
recipes because it's just too much of a risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be another, I guess, thing for someone to think about, right? Again, like you had mentioned, you have to make most of your food. You can't go out for food. And I know even in like salad dressing, there's oils too, right? Then maybe they're not cooked. I don't know. Does that matter if it's cooked or not cooked?
Yeah, the protein can change a little bit, but no, when you have a true allergy, it's not going to change the protein enough for you not to react, except when you have the baked in egg. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people can tolerate baked in milk.
Yes, I've
So
heard
it
that.
does
Yep.
change it a little, but with the
Mm,
oils and, with restaurants, you can learn how to navigate a restaurant. We
mm,
do go out, but we go out now that she's older, we know what questions to ask. We know what restaurants we trust. We know
mm-hmm.
what answers we want to hear. And
Mm-hmm.
if we don't hear them, then we don't go there.
Uh-huh. There you go. Well, it's good that you guys are able to get out a bit. That's awesome. Very good. Cool. Well, let's see. Before I let you go, just anything specific about like putting the book together. I'm always curious because I've written a couple of books myself, and just that to me, that process is interesting. So, did you have any interesting challenges as you put the book together?
Yeah, I worked with a great publisher, so they helped me a lot. I've never written a book, so
Mm-hmm.
they guided me. But probably the hardest part is what comes in the index. So I wanted to give the brands and the appendix. I wanted
Okay.
to give the brands of everything because again, that was so difficult to find not only nut-free foods, but
Mm-hmm.
manufacturers that didn't have a facility with nuts.
Oh, okay.
So the risk of cross-contamination is a big concern of allergy families, especially when it comes with nuts. So
Mm.
because the allergies are so severe. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to list allergy-friendly manufacturers, allergy-friendly websites, and every brand that we use, every product we use in every single recipe is written in the back of the book.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
people have a starting point. I want
Mm-hmm.
them to call themselves because everybody has a different comfort level with shared facilities or shared lines. But again, I was starting from zero. I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea what manufacturers were allergy friendly and
Mm-hmm.
nut-free facilities. I was just researching and researching and researching. It was
Mm.
exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
So if I had just something to refer back
Mm-hmm.
to, it would have been really helpful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine how helpful it would be for someone to get your book, to be able to have just like those specific companies to look at and say, these are doing it right, and to not have to do all that legwork for themselves. That's amazing. Well, before I let you go, I want you to tell us a little bit about how to find you. But I know you have a blog or a website,
Mhm.
eatinghealthyforlife.com, and that's the number 4. And I'll put all of these links, of course, in the show notes. But is that something that you're working on, or is that sort of more, is the cookbook more your focus?
Oh no, the website is a huge part of my practice and business, and I do have a blog that I write on monthly.
Okay.
Um, and I have a private Facebook group called Food Allergy Forum, where all food allergy parents can come and we can chat about the, research. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, if anybody wanted to work with me one-on-one, they can contact me through my website. And then, of course, the book is on there as well.
Awesome. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Well, great. Well, again, I hope that the listeners check this book out if they have any allergy challenges with their families, with themselves, with their children, or whatever. I think that this sounds like an amazing resource. Clearly, you've done all your homework and you had that vested interest for yourself and your family. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. This has been the Teaching Your Toddler podcast with Mary Jo Tinlin. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you'll find us on our website at teachingyourtoddler.com, as well as on Facebook at Teaching Your Toddler, on Instagram, and on Twitter at Teaching Toddler. So join us again, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.